Go ahead. All right, it is currently Monday, August 19th. We are calling tonight's business meeting to order at 5 p.m. I guess actually now it's 5:01. We're going to start out with the call. Roll call, Ms. Wood.
Mr. Brown.
Here.
Mr. Norris.
Here.
Dr. Schenk.
Here.
Ms. Upchurch.
Here.
And Mr. Schwartz is absent and excused this evening.
Correct. Okay, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Mr. Norris, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can I get an approval of the agenda before we get started?
Ms. Upchurch, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Seconded.
Any discussion? No discussion? All right, seeing as there's no discussion, Ms. Wood.
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Dr. Schenk.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. And Mr. Schwartz is excused. And the reason that we are starting at 5 o'clock this evening is we do have an executive session item. That's item B1, executive session in accordance with CRS 24-6-402 sub 4 sub A and CRS 24-6-402 sub 4 E. The Board of Education will convene in executive session and to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest, and in accordance with said Colorado Revised Statutes, to determine positions relative to the matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for instructing negotiators, and specifically, the board will discuss the subdivision of land situated within the central office complex and determine parameters for valuation of these parcels for future transactions. And the board will invite Superintendent Dr. Stacy Battery, our Chief Business Officer, Mr. Brett Ridway, and Director of Planning and Facilities, Ms. Melissa Andrews, who join us in executive session in the superintendent's office. And then following our executive session, the members of the Board of Education will reconvene in this learning center to resume the regular monthly meeting at approximately 6 p.m. Is there a motion?
Ms. Upchurch, I'd like to make a motion to convene in executive session in accordance with CRS 24-6-402 subsection 4, paragraph A, to discuss the purchase, acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest, and in accordance with CRS 24-6-402 subsection 4, paragraph E, to determine positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. Specifically, the board will discuss the subdivision of land situated within the central office complex and determine parameters for valuation of these parcels for future transactions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing as none, Ms. Wood, would you do roll?
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Dr. Schenk.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye, and we will reconvene here at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Best.
Absolutely. All right, thank you.
Are we ready?
We are Min.
Okay.
Are we unmuted?
Are we unmuted?
Oh, yeah.
We're still muted.
Amy, are we good? Okay. Okay, we are going to come back, reconvene out of executive session. It is 6:06, and we're going to finish with the rest of our board meeting. We've got some really exciting recognitions, beginning of our school year, so we're just going to kick it off right away. With our first recognition, I'd like to introduce Raleigh Butch Eversole. And I just want to say, I've always thought you were just Butch. So anyway, he's our former Palmer Ridge High School band director, and he's being recognized from the community and the Board of Education for something very special. Mr. Eversole recently received the prestigious Colorado Bandmasters Association 2024 Hall of Fame Award. And this honor is given to just one Colorado band director each year. So Dr. Dattery, would you introduce Mr. Eversole for us?
Yes, thank you for that nice introduction. Thank you for this. So, again, congratulations, Mr. Eversole, for this incredible accomplishment. Miss Upchurch received this wonderful letter informing us of this recognition, and I just want to read this aloud to you. And it says, "Dear Miss Upchurch, it's my pleasure to inform you that your most outstanding, recently retired music educator, Mr. Raleigh Butch Eversole IV, was awarded the prestigious Colorado Bandmasters Association 2024 Hall of Fame Award. Mr. Eversole retired from Palmer Ridge High School in 2023 after an extremely successful teaching career. This honor is given to just one of our Colorado band directors each year. Mr. Eversole is only the 49th music educator to receive this award since 1976. Wow. Right. The 461-member Colorado Bandmasters Association was asked to vote for this year's award recipient, and Mr. Eversole was inducted into the CBA Hall of Fame at our annual convention membership meeting, which was held in Denver on July 18th of 2024. So thank you. We are so grateful that this came to us, and we just appreciate your service, your many years of service in band and music education for our students here in Lewis-Palmer School District, and specifically at Palmer Ridge High School. And we just thank you. And if you would like to come and be recognized.
We want to say congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for this recognition. I was overwhelmed when I received it. But I want to recognize a couple other people that taught in the district that I joined in CBA Hall of Fame. Mike Mazingo, who Mo retired in 2018 or 19 from teaching at Lewis-Palmer Middle School, and had taught a few years at Lewis-Palmer High School as well. And Craig Kettles, who retired in 2007 from Lewis-Palmer High School. Both of them are tremendous influences on me, and it was an honor to join them there. You know, we stand on the shoulders of giants, those guys being the giants, but also the support that I received and my students received from parents, from community, from the Board of Education, from building and district level administrators. I would not have been awarded this honor had it not been for all that support and for just the great students that I had for the 23 years that I taught here, 15 at Palmer Ridge and 8 at Lewis-Palmer High School, and then the 6 years I taught at Manitou Springs before I came here, a few of which were with Bridget O'Connor, who's here tonight too.
Yeah.
So we first met in that district. Thank you for your support, and I hope that this will be relayed into continued support for
the district music program and in particular the band program with Sam Anderson at Lewis Palmer High School, who's a former student, Sarah Lawyer at Lewis Palmer Middle School, who's a former student, and Sarah Romero, who was not my student, but is doing great things at Palm Ridge High School. Again, thank you for this recognition and this time.
Thank you.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Stay here with us.
My husband always says behind every great man is a really supportive wife, but I wanted to say it differently. Okay, so that's not all. We have another recognition, and this is a student recognition. Lewis Palmer High School Principal Bridget O'Connor is going to introduce our 2024 graduate Braden Turner for his academic achievement during his high school career. And a special valedictorian medal will be presented to Braden in honor of this accomplishment. Mrs. O'Connor, would you like to come up forth and present this to Braden, please?
All right, well, it's good that we are a learning institution. Come on, my friend. After 10 years as an administrator, I can fully tell you that I am still learning. Our current practice for determining the valedictorian and salutatorian, the handbook says it is determined after 7 semesters of high school. And if you're doing your math, there's 8 semesters. But probably because of the graduation and the amount of work that goes into it, they said it was 7 semesters. Also, you'll notice in your graduation printout that all information is accurate at the time of printing. And it was. But we had a unique circumstance that when final grades went to transcript, my good friend Braden Turner ended up with a GPA of 4.545, which moved him to number 1 in the class by 0.001. We are moving forward. We are going to look at graduation requirements and all things graduation. So we will certainly look at this and all of the processes that go with it. But tonight we are here to honor Braden for his academic achievements. In addition to academics, Braden was an outstanding athlete. He served on the state Safe to Tell and Pikes Peak suicide prevention teen boards. He is a valuable student advocate for student mental wellness, and we are extremely grateful for his leadership and his service and the legacy he left on our school, without question. So we are honoring his academic achievements. I also want to draw attention, his parents are with us as well, Belwyn Turner and Nancy Roberts. Braden, very soon, next week, right? Will be attending the University of Massachusetts, Amherst, and he plans to major in computer science with a minor in food science. So, with all honors due, here is your valedictorian medal.
And then finally, we have a community recognition. Then this one goes to our Tri-Lakes Women's Club, and I'm going to ask, yes, we do. Mrs. Sinkowski's in the room, and so she is going to give this award to our Tri-Lakes Women's Club. Would you like to share? Okay, wonderful.
Thank you. This evening, I'd like to have some special recognition for Tri-Lakes Women's Club. This past year, they have awarded 8 grants to our D38 schools for a total of $12,473. One of the grants I would like to focus on is one that will be going to create comfort bins for our schools. The past couple years, our schools have lost staff members, students, and we've weathered some serious tragedies, and in order for schools to really be able to focus on supporting kids and not have to worry about, where can we get all of the supplies and calling other schools and pulling all these together, we would like to create some age-appropriate bins. There'll be some elementary bins as well as secondary bins, and they will have supplies in them like cushions, fidgets, note cards, age-appropriate books about grief and loss, as well as some coloring, materials and other things to help students and staff cope so that we can create those really caring and nurturing spaces for them as they walk through those tragedies. So we would like to thank Tri-Lakes Women's Club for all of their help and support, and we have our representatives Kathy Budney and Julie Shook.
Thank you.
You have to help me with that. I'm a different religion.
Okay. Our next item, which is C4, public comments. Ms. Wood is getting our public comments at this time. Well, then I don't even need to read that. Well, then we're going to skip over all the legalese and readings and go straight into there are no public comments. So that's going to move the board meeting along a little faster. So we'll move right into board member comments. And just for funsies, we're going to start right at the end. Mr. Brown.
Oh, I don't have much other than it seems like it's been a long time since we've been here, so not that we haven't been busy, we've been meeting all summer long, but good to be back here in the rhythm of things.
Yes. Dr. Schenk.
I missed being here as well. I'm glad to be back, and I'm super excited to start this year with our new superintendent.
Excellent.
No comments.
Mr. Norris.
Thank you.
So they were just leaving all the comments to me. Yeah. That's all, because I have some things to say. First, I do want to say welcome everyone to the 2024-2025 school year. I'm going to take a page out of Mr. Ridgway's book and say Happy New Year. And it has been fun to see all the back-to-school pics and celebrations and stories, and also a preemptive congratulations to our class of 2025, and welcome to their senior year. This will be their final year at full year at Lewis Palmer, and this will be my last final year on the board at Lewis Palmer. Not as a parent, still got a few years left on there. But I'd also like to ask for a big hearty welcome from everyone to our new superintendent, Dr. Stacy Dattery. Today marks your first official regular board business meeting, though certainly you have been busy since July 1st, and you've hit the ground running. So we want to say welcome to D38.
Thank you.
Officially. As a reminder to those that remember and to those that don't, Dr. Dattery comes to District 38 with 21 years of administrative experience and 20 years of experience in education from Greeley-Evans School District 6, which is a similar community to ours, and she's already becoming immersed in the Tri-Lakes area and in El Paso County as well. Dr. Dattery has been engaged with her energy and her enthusiasm for student-focused initiatives, such as our Innovate D38 Design Advisory Group, which has been busy working all summer, along with several other meetings and groups with stakeholders of teachers and students and parents and community. So just because it was summertime, we were still very busy in the community and the district. And so we're excited at what opportunities and doors will be opened for our D38 students as a result of this collaborative community work. And in fact, our entire leadership team has been working, and you guys have all been in the building all summer, so nobody's resting on their laurels. So I want to say thank you to everyone. So with Dr. Dattery at the helm, we look forward to continuing to lean into our strategic plan, elevating each and every student and thinking outside the box, and keeping our lens focused on serving our students and partnering with our parents. And then speaking of opportunities, I think it's important, I would like to remind all of our stakeholders out there that we are hosting community meetings for a potential K-8 charter school, which is World Compass Academy. And anyone that is interested in being a part of that, the next opportunity will be Monday, August 26th from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. here in the admin building. And I strongly and highly encourage our community to attend. We do value the feedback and the collaboration with our community. And it's interesting and we're excited. And World Compass Academy is interested in being a part of our Tri-Lakes community and D38. But we would like the input and the feedback from our community as we as a board make our decision coming October. And then finally, to my fellow board members, I want to remind everybody that the Colorado Association of School Boards 2024 Fall Conference and Delegate Assembly is also in October, and that's October 18th and 19th, and it is at the Pueblo Convention Center. Our CASB Legislative and Resolutions Committee, we will be meeting on September 6th to review the submissions of the resolutions, and if you all recall, last year, we submitted 3 resolutions. They were for local control of instruction, local control of per pupil revenue that opposes unfunded mandates and unfunded grants, and the elimination of the budget stabilization factor and restoration of full per pupil revenue. All of them passed. And as your delegate, I also moved at that time to amend 2 of CASB's standing resolutions of local control of instruction and per pupil revenue to include our own language, to read, to state that Colorado Constitution Article 9, Section 15 states that local school boards elected by their electors shall have control of instruction in the public schools of their respective districts. And after making the case for that, the delegates voted and those standing resolutions changed. So those were changed to be standing resolutions. And then obviously, as we all know, Colorado did indeed eliminate the budget stabilization factor. In Colorado State Constitution Article 9, Section 2, which was established in 1876, just a little bit of history for everybody, states that Colorado is to provide for the establishment and maintenance of a thorough and uniform system of free public schools throughout the state. That resolution passed unanimously. The BS factor, we like to call the budget stabilization factor, has been eliminated. However, keep in mind that there's nothing that keeps the state from bringing that back. And it'll be interesting to keep our eye on it and keep in tune, because there is a special session that has been called by Governor Polis, and we'll see what's on the ballot. So I didn't present any resolutions to you guys this year because our resolutions passed and are sticking. And so I thought we'd take a year off from resolutions and just vote on some good resolutions presented by other school districts, unless you say otherwise, in which we would call a special meeting before August 29th. Otherwise, cool for having some good resolutions passed and some good accomplishments. So that's all I had to say for now, and I will pass it on to you, Dr. Dattery.
Thank you, President Upchurch. Thank you for all the board comments. Tonight, I bring to you my first superintendent's update, and we're just pulling that up for you now. Thank you, Miss Wood. Just getting the hang of this here a little bit.
Oh, you're
So I have several things that I am excited to share with you tonight, as it is our first meeting of the new 24-25 school year. And as such, we wanted to kick it off by just sharing a few of our highlights from the first day of school, which was last Wednesday. We are 4 official days into our school year. So we welcomed students back to our schools this last week with incredible success. I, along with many of my colleagues, saw incredibly just beautiful smiling faces on our campuses. And there was definitely excitement in the air as learning for the 24-25 school year got underway, and truly foundations have been laid for new friendships. We welcomed, excuse me, I apologize. I had the opportunity then to join our incredible transportation team for picking up students on the first day. And so you can see some pictures here. I rode with students to Lewis Palmer Middle School and Palmer Ridge High School first on the first route, and then jumped on a second bus to take our students to Bear Creek Elementary School. It was so much fun spending time with our kids on that very first day. I think they first looked at me like, who are you and what are you doing? I know. And I said, well, you know, it's all of our first day. So they were pretty awesome. They played along nicely. And I do want to thank our bus drivers, our routers, our support staff. Just make sure that our students get to school safely, not only on that first day, but every single day. They are incredible, incredible people. And they start very early in the morning, as you well know. And as your new superintendent, as you said, I'm committed to listening and learning to our staff and to our students and our community. On this particular day, though, I did have the chance to already start on those conversations with many of our students. And so I enjoyed lunch after hitting the bus routes, hit a couple of schools and out and about and in classrooms. But then I really enjoyed coming and having lunch first with students at Lewis Palmer High School. They were wonderful. They were very delightful. And they have such a beautiful place to eat, just right inside and outside. And then I went to Prairie Winds Elementary. And I just look forward to having continued conversations with our students throughout the school year. So much has gone on as we have geared up for the new school year, and I wanted to just share a little bit more about what's been happening in our schools just to get ready for our students to come back successfully. So, incoming 7th graders, that's a big deal. All of our 7th graders hitting middle school for the first time, and they were all welcomed back to Lewis Palmer Middle School from July 30th to August 2nd for Patriot Beginnings. I just love that. Patriot Beginnings is a program that helps students who are new to middle school into that whole experience and provide them with an engaging orientation that fosters community and builds lasting friendships and truly sets the foundation for learning in a new school. They welcomed those students back on those days, and school hosted student check-in then on August 6th and 7th. So welcome to all of our new students who are part of the Patriot family. And then, along with helping students make the transition to middle school, we also hosted orientation events for our 9th graders at Lewis Palmer High School and Palmer Ridge High School. Middle school, high school, it's a big transition. So they make that transition into 7th grade and 8th grade, and then they all go to 2 different high schools, right? And that's a big jump. So we just thank our staff. I want to thank our staff for making sure that that transition is as smooth as possible. And thank you to investing the time that it takes to host these events to ensure that our students can get a successful start off to the new year. So we had nearly 300 freshmen at the Bear Bash at Palmer Ridge High School on August 9th, and about 280 freshmen entered the doors of Lewis Palmer High School, eager to start their new year on August 13th is when they had that. So 2 great events all 3 great events for all of our secondary students. And then we have all of our new teachers. And we started that on August 5th. And so I truly, along with an amazing team, had the opportunity to welcome nearly 75 new teachers to the D38 workforce. We were fortunate to have some very special guests in attendance, students from Palmer Ridge High School, Lewis Palmer High School, as well as Lewis Palmer Middle School. And they just offered words of encouragement and advice. That was the best to our new D38 teachers. I hosted a panel discussion with them, and I could not truly be more proud of how they represented our schools. We have incredible students, and they did an amazing job, and it was truly the highlight. I'd say it was the highlight of their whole 3 days. Of course, the learning's very important, and our staff continued to host some great learning opportunities for them, but it was really a fun way to start. So even when school's not in session, as we know, D38, it's a busy place. And we hosted many activities, and I just want to highlight a few of those over the things that just happened over the summer months. So you would think, kids are home, we're all off doing things. Oh no, they're very busy. So one of the most recent summer events included a scrimmage between the Unified Soccer team at LPHS and the Switchbacks Unified team on August 10th. Don't say that too fast. The Unified Soccer team at LPHS has been in place for 3 years, and this is the first event with an outside organization. The game created opportunities for people with disabilities to be included in sports while promoting awareness and inclusion. And so I just thank our students at Lewis Palmer High School for participating in this event. And then Palmer Ridge High School and Lewis Palmer High School both hosted an assortment of different sports camps for our youth throughout the summer months, just keeping them engaged and getting kids, to love these new sports and see if they have an aptitude and a desire to continue. So the camps provided such incredible engaging activities for our younger students and got them excited about maybe being a Lewis Palmer or Palmer Ridge High School athlete. D38 also had the option to go big or go home during the Monument 4th of July parade, and we went big, as you know, as a district. And I was truly grateful for all of the representation. So staff from our own administration building walked in the parade, while board president, Ms. Tiffany Upchurch, and I both rode in a classic, beautiful car driven by Kiwanis Club member Todd Bowman. A huge thank you to him for rounding up a vehicle and driving us in the parade. It was really a lot of fun. Yeah. In addition, numerous clubs and sports teams from within our high schools participated in the parade too, and I just thank all of the groups that came out to represent District 38 and celebrate such a patriotic holiday together. Yep. So much gratitude. We had our football team and girls on the Ridge Athletics. And then we also had Palmer Ridge Barobotics, the Palmer Ridge football teams I already mentioned, and their Barobotics, and cheer and pom teams from both of our high schools. And we also had Palmer Ridge Baseball and Student Council and our DECA program, all representing. So great pictures, great event. Yep. And then while we enjoyed camaraderie and fun on the holiday, there was also a lot of work taking place this summer, so our people have been just so busy making our grounds beautiful. So I just want to thank our operations and grounds staff for making improvements on all of our campuses over the summer. While teachers and students are away, our grounds team works hard to prepare our buildings for their return. And this summer included projects such as a new playground surfaces at Prairie Winds Elementary, new blacktop at the bus barn, it's absolutely beautiful, as well as fresh paint in the school parking lots. All a lot of work on hot summer days. We're also continuing our work, as you mentioned, on the Career and Innovation Center. We are in the design phase, as Ms. Upchurch mentioned, and we're truly collaborating with our staff, students, parents, and community on how this facility will look, as well as the programming that will be included in the new facility. And we managed to plant the seed for this new learning opportunity in D38 with our media interviews on the first day of school, so I was very grateful for all of the work that our communications director, Ms. Amy Matizik, put together so that we could really get the word out on all of the great things that are happening in D38 on the very first day of school. Additionally, we hosted a community meeting last week, and we'll host another one next week in order to gather feedback from the community and staff about a potential new charter school called World Compass Academy. At the meeting, we shared an online survey for attendees to share their opinions on adding the school to our D38 list of schools. We received a few responses, and we will ask for feedback at the next meeting, which will be on August 26th, Monday, August 26th, if you are interested. And finally, and I promise they will not all be this long, but we have a lot going on this year, this summer. And finally, I do want to wrap up my presentation today by introducing you to a new leader in D38. So, Mr. Sprints, would you please stand? We welcome Ron Sprints. He's over there. There he is. Thank you. And just stay standing for a minute. I know, he says, really? As our new Director of Finance and Purchasing. Ron brings 26 years of experience to this role, serving in positions in both the private sector and in education. He most recently served as Director of Finance in School District 49. Ron is a Colorado native, yes, and is excited to join our D38 team, and we are excited to have him. He shared, "I have a passion for school financial strategy and committed to learning the district's needs and quickly becoming a valued member of the team. Joining this team not only allows me to apply my skills and knowledge in a meaningful way, but also to grow and learn within a dynamic and forward-thinking environment." And I could not have said it better. So thank you. Welcome, Ron, to the D38 team. And that concludes my superintendent's update this evening. Thank you.
And we're looking forward to an amazing 2024-25 school year and the doors that will be open for our students. Thank you, Dr. Dattery. Okay, so moving on to our next section of our agenda, which is section D. Number 1 is human resource hiring update, and I'd like to invite our Director of Human Resources, Alicia Welch, who's already beat me to the punch, and you'll be providing us with an update regarding hiring for the 2024-25 school year. And as she's going through a presentation, make sure you're writing down any questions you have or thoughts, and after Ms. Welch is finished, then we can open it up for questions and discussion.
President Upchurch, everything I do fast. Sometimes I even end before something's over, but I will try not to do that. All right, good evening, President Upchurch, Dr. Dattery, and members of the board. I look forward to presenting you with the update on how things are moving along with the HR department. Thank you for getting this pulled up from me. Appreciate it, Mrs. Wood. All right, so we have two different portions of the presentation tonight. Part 1, where I'll be focusing on hiring and separation updates, and Part 2, where we will talk about some challenges, opportunities, and next steps. As a reminder, most of the work I do is really focusing on valuing our people. The priority of valuing our people really focuses in on making sure that we are a destination district, that people come here and they want to stay here. And we are doing as much as we can, and I feel like we're really being deliberate in our actions to really attract high quality people and retain them once we get them. There are 3 different areas that we'll be focusing on specifically for this presentation: recruitment and retention, persistence and efficacy, substitute workforce efficiency, and the number of internal hires and promotions. And this is one added part to this presentation that we actually didn't have last year, really focusing in on those internal status changes. So if we look at the 24-25 school year and the employees that we have specifically hired new for this school year, and I say that because some summer help, student workers, positions like that, and really for the purpose of this presentation, I try to really focus on those employees that we're hiring for the 24-25 school year. So when you look at the data, it's really a comparison of the data that we hired for the 24-25 school year, or retained, to the data from last year. So you'll see some of those numbers and comparisons throughout. And just to highlight, a total of 93 new hires, 69 teachers, licensed staff, so not all of them are teachers, some are special service providers, special education teachers, and then 24 classified employees. And this is the breakdown of the licensed staff, the new hires that we have. So as you can see, we have more elementary teachers hired this year than other areas. However, we have 5 elementary schools, so I would assume that we would end up hiring more teachers. 9 middle school teachers, 15 high school teachers, 5 special education teachers, and then as you go down, 4 special service providers. We actually are excited. This year we hired 2 speech language teachers, which is significant. We have been contracting out a lot of that work, and it's really nice to get some of our own employees, and also a psychologist, which is significant as well. And then we hired some new district support and school administrators. And you had the opportunity to meet Ron tonight. He's one of the new ones. Moving on, classified. 24 new classified hires for the 24-25 school year, with 9 special education paraprofessionals, 1 instructional paraprofessional, 7 building aides. And those building aides can be support for the front office that's non-clerical. It can be the cafeteria support or recess type support, monitors and such. 1 new bus driver when I did this presentation, but Julia Beta was just texting me, and I think we have 3 new bus driver hires today. So we're very excited about that. So I didn't update this because we'd already sent it to you. And then a few new school office staff and 1 new instructional support person for preschool. This is the internal status change information that I was referencing before. So this year we noticed, and maybe it's just because we're getting more comfortable with the work we do, but we have really noticed that we had a number of internal status changes, and this is a really good thing. That means people are staying with us, and sometimes they just want movement. Sometimes it's within the same building, sometimes it's to a different school or department. Other times, maybe they were 0.5 or half-time, and they wanted to move to 0.7, 0.8 full-time. All of that has to be tracked. We have to track everything we do because the people that work for us want to be paid correctly, and I don't think that's too much to ask. So we have to track all of that from the HR side so that payroll gets all the right information and people get paid correctly. I think that just skipped. Okay. So as you can see, one of the numbers that's high here that you'll see throughout the presentation a couple of times is 8 special education paraprofessionals. One of the reasons we needed to hire 8 special education paraprofessionals is because a number of our special ed paraprofessionals and sometimes instructional paras end up accepting positions to teach in our district, and that's something I will reference through the presentation as well. So where are our new teachers coming from? If you look at the data on the slide, you'll see we do have a number of teachers coming from Academy School District 20, D11, a number of teachers came from there, and Falcon. And then a couple of teachers here and there from other districts as well, with a total of 37 that came from other districts. Other people, we have a number of them who were hired as new teachers, and there's some data that specifically speaks to that in another slide. Before I move on to that slide, though, I want to highlight a few things. As you think about why teachers would come to District 38 when they can go to other districts around us, there's some things that I consistently hear when I talk to the new hires. I love that part of my job. That's one of my favorite things, just talking to people and connecting with them. So when I talk to them, offer them the position, one of the things that really stands out in our district is that we can give 16 years of credit for previous experience. When I first started in this position, the spring of 23, I think, a year and a half ago, I was so young back then. I've grown a lot since then. So about a year and a half ago, when I moved into this role, we were only able to start teachers on step 9. So that's a significant change that we made last year, and it's having a big impact. I would say that's the most substantial. We also give a $2,000 new hire bonus, which makes a big difference for people when they just want a little bit of extra money that helps, with their financial situation and also just makes them feel valued. Also, one of the bigger things is that people like the climate and culture. Now, I don't expect the climate and culture will ever be perfect, but I think sometimes people are here and they think, oh, I want to go somewhere else, I just need a change, I need a little bit more money, something like that, and then they choose to come back because they missed the people here, the students here, and the culture here in our district. So those are really good reasons that people want to come back to our district. This is a slide that indicates how many new people we have to the profession. So 29 new teachers to the public school sector, 9 paraprofessionals that were D38 paraprofessionals, instructional or special education, that have decided to become school teachers. And please keep in mind their years and experience as paraprofessionals is invaluable. That's actually where I started my career, was as a paraprofessional. I did it in the preschool sector, and when I decided to go back to work when my kids were old enough to go to preschool, I did it in District 11 for about half a semester before I took a teaching position. And you learn so much about relationship building, classroom management, getting along with others, learning about who your resources are in the building. It's really a great pool to draw from. And I will go into that a little bit further as I talk to you more later in this presentation about our partnerships with Western Colorado and CDE recruiting and retention departments. Also, a number of recent college graduates, some of those would fall under that new to public school as well. And then we have 4 teachers this year who came from the business world. Quite often, those are our CTE positions, and we're excited to get those filled. CTE is one of our hard to fill positions, so we're excited when someone wants to come. It's nice that we now can give them credit for their years of experience in the business world, or in, depending upon the sector they were in before. It does make a difference and it draws people in, so that's exciting. Our average new hire pay is listed here. As you can see, the newly hired licensed staff average pay is $55,760. Keep in mind that's because a number of our new hires are coming with experience, and I have a slide that indicates that as well. The district-wide average for all employees is $64,685. And then if you look just beneath there for newly hired classified staff, the average is $20.77 per hour, and the district-wide average is $23.49. Talking about retention and recruitment, one of the most amazing things that happened is that our classified employees have gone up over the course of like this past year and this year, close to, I don't want to give an exact number, but high $3 and low $4 per hour increase in pay. That's a substantial difference. And people that wanted to be in those classified roles, they're able to actually afford to stay in those classified roles. So that's a big deal. We're excited that we're able to offer that. All right, now this is the newly hired licensed staff. So as you can see, if you look at this data, a number of our new teachers are not new to the profession at all. They actually have a number of years of experience. Now I see that the 0 to 1 is high, but so is the 6 to 10. So that people coming in teaching our students who have 6 to 10 years of experience, 16 to 20. Now, before we offered the additional years of service, some of them just couldn't afford to do this. So it makes a significant difference that we are able to pay them what they actually need to make and what will make them feel valued and what will keep them interested and hopefully stick with our district. A few things that I want to highlight on this slide are 25% of the newly hired teachers have 0 to 1 years of experience, indicating about a quarter of our teachers are new. 14% of our teachers have about 2 to 5 years of experience, suggesting challenges in retaining new hires beyond that first year. So we know we have some work to do there. 28% of our newly hired teachers have 6 to 10 years of experience, showing some stability in that group, which is also great. It's nice to bring in some people that have experience who can help some of our newer teachers or those who've already been in the building that may just need some refreshing, need new ideas. And then 33% of our newly hired teachers have 11 to 20 years of experience, indicating success in attracting experienced educators. If you look at all staff, this is the data across the board for how many years of experience our staff have, generally speaking. And this is not just licensed, because I look as a past school-based administrator and also as your director of HR, I think we should value all of our employees and the contributions they make. And so I think it's important to look at this data and to think, wow, not only do we have a number of teachers and special support, special service providers that have experience in our district, but we also have a number of classified employees that have a lot of experience that are also contributing amazing things in our classrooms. Okay, wait, I think it skipped a slide. Nope, we're gonna move right on to separation. All right, so if you look at this data, what we decided to do is compare last year's separation data to this year's separation data. If you look at the total number of employees that separated, there were 135 that separated last year, which was 17.3% of our total staff. And this year we had 17.9% of our total staff who separated. which was a total of, it was a number of 141 employees. So when you think about that, there really isn't a significant difference when both fall within that range of 17%. One of the differences that I do see is that last year we had more licensed staff that chose to separate from the district, whereas this year we had more classified staff. I look at that like that is probably typical ebbs and flows within the district. I look forward to being able to present data year after year so that we can really see these trends and how they look from one year to the other. Right, this is some data on our licensed departures, why people are choosing to leave. The board had asked me to specifically ask people's top reason for leaving, then their second and third. So we did do that, and this data reflects the numbers that are the highest as being the main reason why people left versus those numbers that are a little lower that are not as significant based on the data that we collected from our licensed departures. So as you can see, this past year, one of the main reasons people left, the highest percentage of people that left this district, 19% of them left because of retirement. I think it's okay. If people are leaving because of retirement, that's good. That's a much better reason than job dissatisfaction, which is at 3%. So I feel like that's a positive. We can keep working with that. But there are some other reasons up there that I think we can be proactive about to make sure that we are being thoughtful about retaining and really recruiting those highly qualified people so that they want to work in our district and not just come for a year, but stay long term. On to our classified departures. You can see with the classified data, 25% of them left for family, personal, or health reasons. And the last or the lowest percentage reason for why they left was retirement. So I guess it was flopped. Maybe sometimes it's the other way around. Right? So the data is out there that helps you to understand more about the reasons why our classified staff members may have chosen to depart. 19% didn't give a reason, and they have that option. So it's still an opportunity for us to think, what could we do better to retain and attract highly qualified people? A substitute update is up next. I'm really excited to announce that last year was a really strong year with our substitute coverage. This matters a lot. This is actually one of the things that impacts people's desire to stay with a district. Can they leave and not be overly stressed that there will not be staff coverage when they're out of the building? When you're a teacher and you really care about your students, you really do care about there being a substitute in the classroom when you need to be out. As a principal, you do care about having that coverage. So this past year, we saw a great deal of improvement. Right now, starting this new year, we have 157 active substitutes, which is actually an accurate number. Andrea Martinez in my department reached out to every single substitute this summer to make sure that they were fully licensed and ready to go and that they wanted to be on the substitute roster. We also have some rules and guidelines around if you don't you have to at least pick up 1 to 2 days per month or you can't be a substitute. We don't just want people who aren't really interested. We really need people who want to dive in there and make a difference for our kids as substitutes in the district. 124 of them are licensed and 33 classified. There are times when our licensed substitutes do end up needing to cover for a classified position, specifically when it's like a special education situation where we need to make sure there's proper supervision. Here's some data on the substitute fill rate from this past year. It says August through May because that is when we actually typically have most of our substitutes is during the school year. I say most because we do have summer programming, so there's opportunities for some substitutes to be used on an as-needed basis. And this data is comparing the yellow data is last year to the year previous, the red data. As you can see, 69.6% of the positions were filled in 22 to 23, whereas last year, 83%. And I would give all credit to the team that I work with that really stays on top of these things and also makes sure that our substitutes can access positions because there were issues with that before, and make sure they feel well communicated with so that they can have a positive experience when substituting in our district. This is a data set that helps you to see that our classified roles are going unfilled more than our licensed roles. The red is showing unfilled. Well, this is all unfilled data. The red is the classified data, the blue is the licensed. Generally speaking, as you can see, we tend to cover our licensed roles better than our classified roles. I would say that's partly due to the fact that we have so many licensed substitutes, but we do, like I said before, allow licensed substitutes to cover classified roles when needs be. And then just a couple highlights. All right, for highlights, one of the things that we have done this year, I talked about compensation strategies, recognizing or giving people credit for past years of experience, up to 16 years, starting them on step 17. But also, we are doing some very creative things with growing our own. I'm excited to say that we have a very good partnership with Western Colorado and with the Department of Education's Recruiting and Retention Department. They came out for 3 different presentations last year that we made quite, we wanted to make sure all of our staff members were aware of these presentations. They gave our employees, specifically our paraprofessionals or substitutes, the opportunity to learn about different ways they could get their licensing, get their education and then their licensing, and actually get into classrooms and start making a difference as teachers. So it was nice to have them come last year. We already have them signed up for 4 separate times this year. And it's exciting because other districts around us are now following suit. I think it's great that we started, though. Sometimes it's nice to do things first, right? And then also we continue to pay our special education teachers and some of our special service providers the 1.2 FTE, so they get that additional salary, which does seem to make a significant difference in retaining them. Their job takes a lot of extra time outside of the regular school day, and I, for one, am very grateful that we were able to retain so many of our special education teachers. These are difficult positions to hire high-quality people for, so we're grateful that we were able to retain so many. And like I said previously, we had 9 paraprofessionals transition into teaching roles this year. So that is also exciting news. And some opportunities, I think I've hit on some of these, just continuing to make sure that we stay on top of our special education staffing. I was at an HR director's meeting on Friday, and lots of people were talking about, how are you hiring special education teachers? How are you keeping those positions filled? And I was like, well, there are creative ways to do things, and if they specifically ask me, I share, because I will always share good things with people. But I'm just proud of us for getting ahead of the game in this. Creative compensation, I've talked about that. We had a job fair last year. We will continue to have job fairs and continue to attend them. And this past year, our hard to fill positions were Spanish, math, and the CTE courses. We will continue to be proactive with making sure that we're getting the information out about those positions so that we can get them filled. We did just lose one of our Spanish teachers at Lewis Palmer High School and found a creative way to have classroom coverage, and that's just something that we are always working with our principals and teaching teams on, is just making sure that our kids have proper coverage, and that coverage is with amazing teachers that make a difference in their lives. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Team, discussion or questions? No? I want to say thank you, because I had a list of questions and you covered all of them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, President Upchurch.
I want to point out that we brought you on as our Human Resources Director in 2022. And when I was looking back at all of our old board docs, I was able to find your presentation from, say, 2023 and compare and contrast with your presentations. And that's the kind of information that's trackable, documented information that we can use in determining what is our best moves forward and how are we best serving our staff. And so I want to thank you for that. So
thank you. I appreciate your kind words.
Thank you. Anyone else? No, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Our next item is D2, our first reading of policy revisions, JIDCE, bullying prevention and education, and we'd like to welcome Director of Student Services, Mr. Rick Frampton. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Ms. Upchurch, Dr. Dadry, and the board. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you this evening. In your pocket, you will see JICDE in a red line version from what our current JICDE policy is. We are recommending this evening that we adopt the CASB recommendations as they're redlined in your packet. Yes, sir.
The red line version doesn't actually work for us. I don't know if it
Not
is for you guys,
working?
but I can't get it open.
It should be under executive
Executive
session,
Executive content.
executive content for a first read.
Scroll down.
Scroll down. Are you logged
Oh,
in?
okay. Hold on. Here, I'll share it with, if yours isn't opening. It's just
The
yours.
link inside the PDF wasn't working, but this one might.
Okay, I am sorry for that. We'll make sure we get a copy of that. Since it's first read, I'll just point out some of the components, the changes that are going to be important in the recommendations that we're making for you. The first of which is in the middle of the first page under definitions, we are responding to a spring legislative session in which new law was written around the specific weight, height, and body size is now being considered a definition for bullying. And so we're responding to that new legislation and that new law that came out in the spring of this year. And when you move on to pages 2 and 3, you'll notice that there are some substantial additions to our current policy. One thing I want to point out is that these additions are catching up to our existing practices. So you're not going to see substantial practices in our bully prevention methodologies in our schools, but we're really catching the policy up to what we've been doing up to this point. You'll notice that we are looking at supporting positive school climate and providing character building. We're doing that currently through our Capturing Kids' Hearts programs, our responsive classrooms, and the like. So many of these components are already in place. Another requirement of the new policy is that we have student surveys in place, and we've been doing that for years. So we're catching up to our current practices, like I said. One thing that we need to do in response to the new policy, assuming you adopt it as it's presented in front of you today, is at the bottom of page 3, you'll notice that we have an investigation and responding to reports, and we need to catch up to this policy by putting some formal procedures in place that will be in alignment to this policy. Again, I don't see this being substantial change to our existing practice. We're already training our administrators along investigative practices, but we're going to codify those procedures to be in alignment with this policy. Do you have questions this evening about the policy presented?
Any questions or discussion? Team? No? I did notice a typo. I'll send it to you in email.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? If there's any discussion or thoughts, please send them to Mr. Frampton, Dr. Dattery. And then if we need to have further discussion, we can during a work session. But I think personally, I think making sure that we're taking care of our kids and making sure that they feel safe in their environment and that we have procedures and protocols in place that are standard so that it just makes sure that we're cracking down and making sure we're sending the message that bullying is not tolerated in D38 schools.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree completely.
All right. Well then, thank you, sir. Okay, our next item is D3, and that is our Monument Academy Charter School contract revisions. And we would like to ask Amber Wetstein to come up and present. And Mr. Ridgway.
Good evening. Thank you for giving Mr. Ridgway and me an opportunity to present to you some proposed changes, minor changes to our contract with our Monument Academy charter schools. The intent in these revisions was primarily to consolidate two separate contracts into one. So while we have an elementary campus and a secondary campus, we are hoping to consolidate the contract just for ease of management for both parties, while both campuses will remain legally two schools. And so the proposed changes that you have in front of you in your board packet do consolidate the two contracts, and they also consolidate them into a more concise template without losing any of the intent of the original two contracts. We also kept the original contract terms. So the original contracts commenced March 13th, 2018 through June 30th, 2028. And we are proposing that this new contract takes place back on August 1st, continuing still through June 30th, 2028. In addition, the new contract provides clarity regarding Monument Academy's responsibilities should they have a student who needs to be considered for expulsion. It also incorporates your board-approved amendment that was presented to you back in December related to how the school manages the education of students with disabilities. I will let Brett speak about the mill levy fund distribution.
So this was a good change that I sought for the district to not have to be the bank, the cash flow bank for Monument Academy. I want charter schools to be treated the same as a district school, no better, no worse. And the district receives our mill levy override funding. It's a property tax, so it's all back end loaded, right? We get that in March, May, and June. To this point, we had actually been funding the Monument Academy, though, on a straight line basis. And so we were front loading a lot of money, and it was basically creating a need for the district to hold out $600,000 of fund balance at the beginning of the year just to manage that cash flow on behalf of Monument Academy. And so by changing it to this pattern where it's 1% every month for the first 8 months of the year and 23% for the last 4, that more closely reflects the actual receipts of mill levy override funding, and therefore the district won't have to have so much fund balance accumulated just to manage that cash flow for them. So this was a good change.
Okay, in board docs, we've included state and local waivers. This was something that was not included in the original contracts. However, this is a requirement of charter school contracts, so there were no real changes, but just including those within the contract. We've also included our agreed upon administrative fees, and Monument Academy also included their bylaws. We did review with our legal counsel these changes, and so did Monument Academy. They reviewed the contract at their special meeting on Friday and have approved it, so we're asking for your approval this evening, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Team? Mr. Norris, do you have any questions?
No, Ms. Church, but I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
to approve the revisions to the contract between Lewis Palmer School District 38 and Monument Academy Charter School, and the consolidation of the contract into a single contract for both East and West campuses as presented.
Second.
Any? Seeing none? Ms. Wood?
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Norris?
Aye?
Dr. Shank?
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I just want to share real quick, I didn't know to do a discussion, but Monument Academy's president, Mr. Graham, and I spoke, and we both value each other's organizations and want to make sure that we have a mutually beneficial relationship, and that both of our schools are doing well. And so thank you for all the hard work that went into this, and I know that they also had a unanimous vote on Friday. So thank you so much, and we do look forward to partnership with Monument Academy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are on to D1, financial planning and analysis, and Mr. Ridgway is still standing in front of us. So, Mr. Ridgway, take it away.
Hello, Brett Ridgway, Chief Business Officer. D4 is what we're talking about here, and
Did I say D4?
as usual, you said D1. That's okay.
Sorry.
A lot of documents that I put into this package. by the way, it has been intimated to me that my presentations can go on a little bit, so we're going to be trying to go a little bit quicker.
That's why we're making you stand.
Is that why you're making me stand?
Yes, sir.
It's okay. I got good insoles,
Closing
so that's not going to do it.
Oh,
If you're closing the blinds, stuff's happening all around me. So, of the documents that I've got in here, let me just call out then a couple of them in particular. We'll start with the district enrollment, and this is something that you've seen before. This upper left-hand portion, this is what Jim Taylor does in terms of reporting student count for us. What I've done around that, both below and to the side, is add some additional context for you. What this really will show us at the end of the day, that keeps walking up there, huh? Okay. Anyway, the operated schools are about 12 students high so far, above budget, and that may statistically that's 0.2%. So really, that means we're hitting budget. If anything, usually what happens between now and the actual October count is we actually trend down a little bit as we get more disenrollments that we hadn't heard of to this point. So, so that is good news that we're right on budget. In terms of so we're 12. Monument Academy is sitting right around 28. Now, a big portion of their growth is they started a homeschool program this year. So from a funded perspective, you have to remember that homeschool students only count as 0.5 when we get to funded status. So so their growth isn't quite as big from a funded capacity on that. So, any questions on enrollment?
Yeah, can you scroll up to Bear Creek?
Yep.
It looks like you got a change from 2023 of 106 students.
So,
Is that typical, or what's driving that large number compared to the rest of the schools, and are any of those choice in?
so I think that I need to validate that number. I don't think that this number is quite correct. Over here on the right side, well, let me say it differently. That is a correct growth from year to year. We were anticipating growth from last year to this year for Bear Creek. So they are definitely receiving a lot of pressure and enrollment. This number shows 880 students, which includes their preschool program, which itself has 78 students.
Yeah, Mr.
Okay.
I was going to point out, they're
Yeah.
triple the size of all of our other elementary schools. So you're going to see about triple the numbers.
So year over year, we usually see about that many?
No, this is not normal, but it is something that they are capable of absorbing. I can't say that they can absorb much more than this, but this is something that they have the capacity to handle.
Do we know
look
how
at
much?
it? We look at that as a projected change versus budget. Then they are still over budget, and this is just looking at the K-12 numbers, not the preschool at 48. And so, when you think about what to do, if there's anything that needs to be done regarding this additional student capacity that they're realizing, we also then have to look at some of our other schools and see are we receiving opportunity there. Yes.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, Bear Creek is probably where they'll absorb most of the new housing development that's happening right now.
At this point, yes, when you think about all that multifamily housing and such. So, a lot of what we've talked about in the past is that we needed to see that play out because we just didn't have any historical baseline to know how that was really going to play out. And so when October count comes in and we actually see where the students are physically residing, then we'll be able to analyze that with some greater depth and know, hey, that was the driver or that was not the driver for this.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, other documents I wanted to show you today. Well, I've got something here. I actually have a spreadsheet in here, so I'm gonna open that up, and because what I wanted to demonstrate for you is what we did with Senate Bill 2417, right? The desire that we had for that was to increase or to balance our cash flow in the non-property tax months by increasing how much state equalization comes in during those non-property tax months. And so what you see here, this is the spreadsheet that comes straight from CDE for the monthly funding. This highlighted number here is the annual amount of state share. In the past, that would have just been divided by 12, which means we would have received in July $3.1 million worth of funding. And instead, because of Senate Bill 2417, we received $4 million. And so that $800,000 plus change is the tangible result of what we did with Senate Bill 2417. That's going to continue for the first 10 months of this year, which then comes to this $8.5 million that I've been projecting for you all of what's going to change in our cash flow and how that's going to be able to change then our fund balance requirement going forward. Yes.
In the event that something changes from this special session, can that possibly affect that, or is that locked in?
From the special session,
Or-
that should not really have any impact on this.
Okay.
No.
The two ballot initiatives, could they impact us?
Well, that not for this year per se, for 24, 25. The ballot initiatives could have an impact on 25, 26 for sure, if that were to play out. If the special session results in those ballot measures being removed, then that would provide a different result. I mean, there's all kinds of things up there. Both measures could be on there and both could fail. That'd be one scenario. Both measures could be on there, both could pass, or one of the other could pass. They really would end up really with much the same result. Or the special session would have a negotiated middle ground for that. If they were to pass, that definitely would provide a big constraint on school district funding in terms of the local share component, and the state share would have to be theoretically increased to absorb that, and there'd be a lot of question whether the state's budget could actually afford to do that.
But it wouldn't affect that 8 million.
It would not affect the $8 million. It's the timing change that we got from Senate Bill 2417
Right.
is the big thing, and
Yeah.
so the timing will hold.
Okay.
All right. So then let's go back to next to the normal monthly report that I have for you, which is this here. We'll go into the bookmarks, and I like we've traditionally spent a lot of time in the graphical presentations, and I've spoken a lot about how I want us to be measured in this window of precise performance, meaning that I want our financial results, especially as it comes to the general fund, to be our performance against budget to be in this window between 98% and 100% of budget. You can slide up to a little bit over 100 if we can, if we need to, but really it's A+ work, right? We want to get 98% achievement, and so what we're seeing so far as we are still putting the final touches on last fiscal year, is that our revenue was at 98.9% received. So that's really, really good and solid within that. Our total expense load in the general fund was 97.78, so just a little bit below that window. And so going forward, we want to be able to be better about that and get over that 98% threshold. Since both are a little bit under, so we're under received in revenue and underspent in expenses, those things are actually working kind of against each other. And netting out to a positive change in fund balance, but not just positive change that we might expect from the total expense load. Because if you look at the total expenses, 52.4 to 51.3, that's $1.1 million of lower expense, but that's offset some by $600,000 of lower revenue received. So our net fund balance change is really sticking closer to this positive $347,000 when we had expected our fund balance to actually erode a little bit from the amended budget. So that's some good news in terms of our general fund financial results. Another thing I wanted to draw your attention then to is this single sheet, which I've mentioned before is what covers all of the statutory requirements for you to know and to see, which is meaning what happens to total revenue, what happens to total expense, what happens to fund balance by fund, and comparing that with other years. And the reason I want to draw attention to it today is to look specifically at Fund 18 And what you'll see in Fund 18, this column that says the current year budget against the current year actual, you'll see that we have exceeded both in revenue and expenses actual to budget. And the reason this is because we had a piece of revenue come into Fund 18, which you all will remember about. This has to do with the freeze event back in January. So we had an insurance claim, and the insurance claim comes into us and is technically received as revenue for us in our insurance fund, and then is spent out of that fund as well. And so that's why you'll see in the motion today that I'm asking for approval of supplemental budget, so that because a supplemental budget can be approved after January 31st of a fiscal year, but only to recognize additional revenue that's been received that wasn't planned for and or really aware of at that January 31st timeline. So it's a little bit unusual to do it after the close of the fiscal year, but it still is relevant. And since we haven't had a meeting since June, that's why I'd be asking for tonight. The other one I'm bringing the similar scenario to you is in the mill levy override operations fund. And this is interesting because I was spending so much of my focus last spring on Senate Bill 2417. I didn't really notice that in the final School Finance Act, they had put a little bit of a nuance in there for mill levy override matching funds. And they changed the previous formula, or I should say they supplemented the previous formula so that there was two different calculations. We didn't qualify for the initial calculation of mill levy override support, but we did qualify for the second calculation, which was kind of unbeknownst to me. So we received some additional revenue that I just in with the mill levy override operation collections that we do locally, and so each of that is a little bit expense as well, because that was unforeseen revenue at the time of the amended budget. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Can that be used for teacher salaries?
It has been used for teacher salaries.
But I mean, can it be used with the math? Oh, so that's just something, you're just presenting a new way for us to look at it.
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was additional dollars.
It was additional dollars, and so again, this does reflect some of the fungible nature of some funds that we have, and so what we were able to do is basically some of the reduced expense load from the general fund came about because we were able to put some additional expense load into the mill levy operation because of that additional funding. Does that make sense? You follow me with that?
I'm following you.
Okay. So the fact that we are $1 million under budget here, part of that was the fact that we received this $200,000 of mill levy override support funds. And so we were able to allocate more of the teacher salary to that.
Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure. And that I like that we're keeping track of it too. Thank you.
Right there by itself. You're welcome. So, and then what else? How am I doing, Alicia? I'm 45 seconds over. She went 20 minutes, so I still got 8 minutes to go. Yeah, okay. This data is just for your consumption. I'm on the board of College Trust. I've been on the board of trustees for College Trust for about a dozen years now, and we receive a lot of really good economic data as part of that. And so I just put this in there for your own consumption. If you want to talk about this sometime, I definitely could do that. There's lots of good economic data that talks about what the Federal Reserve is going to be doing, unemployment rates, the slope of the yield curves for Treasury bills and things like that, which is a lot of really interesting stuff going on in the economy right now. So that's there for your consumption. If we want to talk about that sometime, I'll be happy to do that. So then I'll just wrap it up by saying I did create a new appropriation resolution for this supplemental budget request that just reflects these changes to Fund 14 and Fund 18 that we just got finished talking about. Any questions?
Okay, so in the spirit of Mr. Schwartz not being here to keep your presentation going longer,
Okay.
in his absence, I would ask that if the curve chart were inversed, will that affect the effectiveness of the effect of our net revenue?
Well put. Well put. I can hear him saying that right now. And my answer would be maybe.
I expect to see that at the next presentation.
All right.
Did you have that, Ann? It was fantastic.
Any other questions or comments? Sir?
Ms. Upchurch, I'd like to make a motion to approve the supplemental budget changes for Fund 14 and Fund 18 as presented by the administration.
I'll second.
Discussion? We all understand what we're voting on?
100%.
Okay. Seeing no discussion, Ms. Wood, would you take?
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Dr. Shank.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, moving on to D5, approval of consent agenda.
Ms. Upchurch, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Seconded?
Any discussion on any items that are in the consent agenda? Has everybody had a chance to ask their questions? Okay. I, as well, have had a chance to ask mine, so thank you, Dr. Dattery, for answering those questions. And Ms. Wood?
Mr. Brown.
Aye.
Mr. Norris.
Aye.
Dr. Shank.
Aye.
Ms. Upchurch.
Aye. Moving on to item number E1. Not E1.
F1.
F1, yes. Future meetings. This is where we have an opportunity, if there's anything else that we want to put on a future agenda or request our administration via the superintendent. As you can see, we have September 3rd work session. We will get an assessment update for CMAS, PSAT, SAT, and AP scores. And we'll be talking about our Career Innovation Center update and our board engagement and how we engage and partner with our community and with our staff. And then our September 16th, these are just ones that are placeholders, is performance framework and accreditation, approval of the policies from our first reading, and to approve our PCAC and FTC membership. And that is our Parent and Community Advisory Committee and our Financial Transparency Committee membership. So we'll approve those. Is there anything else, board, if it pleases you, to put on the agenda upcoming? And if you can't think of anything now, certainly shoot it over.
Will do.
Anybody? All right. If we have anything, we will definitely shoot it over to you to discuss for an agenda setting meeting.
Sounds good.
And if I recall you, we'll discuss that offline. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? No. So then we are ending our meeting. Wait, I want to wait one more minute so we can end at exactly 7:30. No, I'm kidding. We are adjourning our meeting at 7:29 today, Monday, August 19th. Thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Dattery.
Thank you. That's all right.
Awesome. Did you get in?
Yeah. What sugar do I
I want to get her a gap.
I only ever really get it from PBS. That's what I've always.
I need